February 17, 1943. A convoy of CCKW trucks snakes along a wadi floor, tarps flapping in the grit-laced wind. Then, over the ridge, sirens. German planes drop through the sun with gull wings bent, followed by Bf-109s raking the column. Nobody expected them today. There's no cover. In 6 minutes, the Luftwaffe turns gasoline, rations and brake linings into fire. Kasserine Pass, Tunisia. A grease-stained mechanic watches the whole thing from a ditch, and he makes a promise he has no authority to make. His name, at least the one on the roster, is Staff Sergeant Nick Nails Ruggieri. Motorpool, 443rd 808A Battalion. 27 years old, Newark-born, apprenticed in a garage that tuned Hudson straight eights. He's not an officer. He doesn't write memos. He fixes what other people break. And he's had enough of watching airplanes eat convoys. That night, in the leeward shadow of a knifed-off ridge, Ruggieri drags a shot-up CCKW into a horseshoe of trucks and pulls its bed down to the planks. He takes inventory like a chef, staring at a bare pantry. 2 functioning M2 Browning 50 caliber machine guns with pintle posts. 1 more salvaged from a wreck. A 4th on a dead half-track that nobody's using because the transmission is toast. A welded ring from a destroyed turret. Angle iron. Scrap plate from a water trailer. Half a drum of grease. Spools of communication wire. A hand crank gear from a bomb hoist. And a battered carpenter's level he keeps in his pocket the way other men keep St. Christopher medals. "Sir, you can't turn a truck into an anti-aircraft gun," the lieutenant says. "Watch me," Nails answers. He doesn't look up. He bolts the ring dead centre in the truck bed, gussets it with angle iron, and laces the joints with welds so ugly they offend the desert. He drives 4 short posts into the ring and crossbars them with plate, building a crude cradle. He sets the 4 M2s in pairs, top and bottom, front and back, like a cross. He scrounges swing arms off 2 ruined pintles to give the guns elevation. He runs the communication wire around the post and the hand crank gear so the whole nest can traverse with 1 man on the wheel. Sandbags in the corners to keep the truck from rocking. The site is a bent coat hanger and a dab of white paint. It's not pretty. It looks like a porcupine in a junkyard. At dawn, a pair of Ju-88s wanders down the valley hunting soft targets. The convoy brakes hard. Men dive for cover again. Nails jumps into the bed, boots skidding on dusty boards, and plants his knees against the ring. His loader, Private Leo Mazur, slaps the first ammunition cans home and pulls the charging handles. 4 bolts snick forward like a vault door closing. "Lead the nose, not the fuselage," Nails mutters to himself, remembering a state fair shooting gallery and a duck that never fell until he aimed at empty space. He cranks. The cradle swings. The coat hanger bead floats ahead of the nearest Ju-88. He squeezes. 4 Brownings roar in a single voice. A braided stream of red traces that stitches across the sky and walks back toward the bomber's engines. The left Junkers starts bellowing smoke, wobbles, tries to climb. Its port motor coughs fire. It doesn't make it. The plane shears into the valley wall with a sound like a door slammed by God. The second one peels away, cautious now, then dives low for a strafing pass. Nails cranks down, the guns drag across the horizon. Mazur feeds fresh cans with shaking hands. When the Junkers commits, Nails rakes its belly. Something major gives up inside the German aircraft. It limps away, trailing parts and hope. The men in the ditch don't cheer. They stare. A truck just swatted down a bomber. Word travels fast in North Africa. Smoke too. By afternoon, officers from the 1st Armoured roll up with binoculars. By evening, a captain from Ordnance is sketching the mount on the back of a map, asking questions he never imagined asking a grease monkey. How fast can you traverse? What's your field of fire? How many men to service the guns? How did you keep the bed from talking? Grease, leverage, and rage, Nails says. Then softer, and 450s that sing in tune. The next raids come wary, lower, faster. Nails learns to start his lead farther out. He learns to fire short, savage bursts to keep the barrels cool. He learns what a bomber looks like when it's going to fake high and slice low. Most important, he learns that a wall of .50 caliber fire in the right place at the right time makes aircraft die. The Luftwaffe hasn't learned his name yet, but they will. Because within weeks, that junkyard porcupine on a deuce and a half won't be a one-off anymore. It will become a pattern, welded cleaner, geared smarter, sighted better, bolted to a tougher chassis. And it will get a name, the M16 multiple gun motor carriage, the meat chopper. The nightmare the Luftwaffe never saw coming, born in a ditch at Kasserine by a mechanic who was told it couldn't be done. 2 weeks after Kasserine, Nails's hacked-together porcupine is shooting nightly. The Luftwaffe learns to avoid his stretch of road like a bad neighbourhood. That's when Ordnance pulls him off the line and drags him to Spaitler airstrip for a demonstration. In front of 2 corps brass, trucks, half-tracks, captains, majors, a colonel with a clipboard, the desert wind smells like hot brake linings and coffee. The colonel's first line hits like a slap. Sergeant Ruggieri, improvisations are tolerated, not adopted. Nails points at the sky where a captured Ju-88 is about to make a mock pass. Sir, let me show you an adoption plan. 4 Brownings howl. The Junkers flinches, breaks away smoking, and bellies in on the far flats. The clipboard goes under the colonel's arm. You'll meet some people, he says. You're going to teach. Those people arrive in a C-47 2 days later, wearing civilian coats. Engineers from the Maxon Company and a major from Aberdeen Proving Ground who smells like drafting ink. They wheel out something that looks like Nails's ring mount had a child with a carnival ride. A squat steel tub with 4 M2s, power cables, and a hand grip that drives 2 electric motors. Prototype M45 quad mount, the engineer says, powered traverse, powered elevation, 360 degrees minus 10-2 plus 90, foot trigger, solenoids, remote charge, gyro-stabilized sight if we can keep the sand out. You're our acceptance test. Nails climbs in. The grips are cold metal pistols under his palms. The sight is a little square window with a floating circle. He squeezes the palm switch. The tub sloughs left as fast as he can think it. He nudges up. The guns rise like a choir lifting their heads. Mazur slaps in the cans. 200 rounds per gun, belts cross-linked to feed without pause. The Maxon man grins. Seats sprung, so your teeth stay in your head. They bolt the mount onto an M3 half-track that's been stripped to bare deck. The M3 is no delicate truck. White 160AX straight 6 under the hood, armoured at chest height, tracks that can swallow ruts that ate CCKWs alive. It takes the weight like it was born for it. Nails takes it around a loop course of ruts and whoop-de-doos, while a P-40 from the 33rd Fighter Group plays target. He tracks, leads, feathers the triggers in short, hot bursts. The sight's reticle floats ahead of the fighter. The mount obeys his wrists without argument. How fast do you need traverse? The Aberdeen major asks. Faster than a Stuka swapping wings, Nails says. You've got it. The first field shoot is vulgar and beautiful. 3 half-tracks in a triangle, guns interlocking, ammunition belts feeding off floorboards. A pair of captured Ju-52s fly tow targets past at treetop level. The triangle tears the sleeves to confetti, then rips the tow lines clean. On the 4th pass, they tell Nails to try ground fire. He drops the quads to hedge height and size a rock face into powdered chalk. The Maxon engineer nods. Dual purpose. Copy that. Combat comes to validate the paperwork. March 23rd, after the counterblow at El Guitar. 10th Panzer Division tries to cover retreating columns with low strafers. The 1st Infantry Division is pulling through a slot canyon with a fuel train when 88s on wings appear. 2 M16 prototypes, no official name yet, just M3s with M45 mounts and a lot of hope, back into the wadi mouth and open up. 4 streams of 50 cal weave a fence you can't fly through. A Bf-110 dives and ploughs into gravel 50 yards short, skipping like a rock and disintegrating. The rest break off. The fuel train rolls on. For the first time in weeks, nobody's cooking in his own truck. By April, the table of organisation catches up with reality. 8A battalions, anti-aircraft artillery, automatic weapons, get M13s with twin 50s and M16s with quads, all mounted on M3 and M5 half-tracks. The 403rd AA Battalion, Nail's outfit, receives the first production batch. They stencil "meat chopper" on the tubs, like it's a joke. Then they watch the joke become doctrine. Convoys no longer scatter. They cluster around the quads like wagons circling a fire. Infantry patrols sleep easier, knowing their bivouac has a thunderhead parked at the edge. Maxon ships crates of spare solenoids and bearings. Aberdeen sends gunners' cards showing lead angles for 300, 600, 900 yards. Nails throws the cards away. "Look through the glass and feel it," he tells fresh crews. Short bursts. Walk the traces in. Think ahead of the airplane. He drills them every night. Slew, acquire, burst. Slew, acquire, burst. Until wrists and eyes move together. He has them practice on jeeps running figure eights at 35 miles per hour to learn crossing shots. He times reloads with a cigarette in his lips. If the cigarette burns down before a gun is recanned and charged, you do it again. Sicily makes it official. July 10, 1943. Gala beachhead. Luftwaffe bombers come low in 2s and 3s, looking to shove the Americans back into the sea. On the pier, a pair of M16s from the 443rd set up nose-to-nose and rake the approaches. A Ju-87 commits to a mast-height run. The quads meet it with a red net. The Stuka folds and cartwheels into the surf. That same morning, an He-111 tries to belly-bomb a fuel dump and flies through cross streams of 50 cal. It doesn't come out. Infantrymen who used to hug sand now stand and cheer. The nickname sticks in every notebook. "Meat chopper saved our hides." The Luftwaffe learns. They come higher, at dusk, in fast pairs. The M16s learn faster. They start slaving to SCR-270 early warning calls, dispersing along likely lines of approach, engines idling, tubs pointed at the darkening horizon. Nails keeps a grease pencil mark on his sight for where to hold when the sun is at a certain angle over water. He tells his men to listen for the change in engine pitch. That means a dive is coming. "Don't chase them down," he says. "Catch them coming up." By the time the last Tunisian pocket folds, 8AA battalions have something they didn't have in February: confidence. The Luftwaffe is no longer a natural disaster. It's a target set. And the half-track with the humming steel tub in back has turned from a crazy mechanic's bet into standard equipment on every road that matters. Next stop, Messina. And then the peninsula, where Nails will discover a new problem he never expected. The M16 is so good at killing airplanes that commanders will start asking it to kill everything else. September 1943. Salerno, Italy. Dawn over the beaches burns grey through cordite haze. The invasion's just hours old, and the Luftwaffe's already prowling. Ju-88s and FW-190s slash low across the sand, dropping bombs so close the concussion lifts trucks off the ground. For the men of the 453rd LLA Battalion, it's just another morning at the office. Nick Nails' Ruggieri's section of M16 sits, back from the surf line in the ruins of an orchard. 4 half-tracks dug in nose down for stability, quads trained skyward. The men wear goggles and earplugs fashioned from gauze. Tracers arc into the sun like flaming threads. The half-track's decks tremble under recoil. Nails stands behind one of the gunners, hand resting on the man's shoulder, shouting through the din, "Lead them, don't follow them, make them fly into it." A Ju-87 pulls into a dive, siren wailing. The quads rip back, 100 red tongues biting at the sky. The Stuka's canopy flashes silver. Then it comes apart mid-air, pieces raining into the surf. The gunner keeps firing long after the plane's gone, hands locked on the grips. Nails slaps his shoulder once, sharply. "Short bursts, kid. You'll melt her barrels." The 443rd is the only reason the landing zone survives that morning. When the Luftwaffe swings in again after dusk, they find the beaches rimmed with meat choppers hidden behind dunes, barrels still hot from the morning. One pass, one burning Heinkel, and the Germans give up low flight entirely. The next day, Nails gets called to division headquarters. Major Lewis, the anti-aircraft officer, has a map spread over a jeep hood. "We're getting reports of your boys shooting at everything," he says. "Trucks, machine gun nests, even a train." Nails doesn't flinch. "Sir, they shoot at us. We shoot back." Lewis studies him for a moment, then grins. "You're not wrong." By then, something's changing. The Luftwaffe's dwindling. The enemy isn't just in the sky anymore. The M16s are being called for groundwork, convoy defence, roadblocks, ambush suppression. What started as a desperate anti-aircraft stopgap is turning into the most flexible firepower on wheels. In the mountain roads north of Salerno, a German half-track ambushes a supply convoy. 2 trucks go up in flames, burning fuel sliding down the slope. Nails's section, travelling rear guard, hears the first bursts before they see the smoke. He orders the half-tracks off the road, engines revving, tracks biting into gravel. They crest a bend and see muzzle flashes in a stone farmhouse, MG-42s cutting down anything that moves. Nails signals 1 track forward. "Guns low." The M16 slews its turret down to ground level. 4 Brownings scream, chewing through walls and roof beams. It's over in seconds. The farmhouse looks like it's been erased. The Americans advance through the dust cloud and find silence. Then a single German survivor crawling away, hands shredded by shrapnel. That night, Nails sits on the half-track fender, cleaning his weapon. Mazza, his old loader, leans against the tyre. "You think this thing was meant for this?" he asks. Nails shrugs. "It was meant to kill the enemy. Sky, ground, doesn't matter. We just made her smart enough to do both." The reports travel fast again, just like they did in Tunisia. M16 effective against ground targets. Ideal for convoy escort. High morale effect on infantry. A phrase begins appearing in official dispatches, dual-purpose platform. In simple English, it kills everything that needs killing. By November, every corps-level convoy in Italy has at least 1 M16 section. Gunners modify their mounts. Longer barrels for reach, sandbags on the rear deck to steady recoil, extra ammo boxes strapped to the armour. The sound of 4 Brownings firing in harmony becomes as familiar as the rumble of engines. The Germans adapt, of course. They start hitting at night, using fast fighter bombers like the FW-190G and Ju-188, but the quads adapt faster. Engineers mount red filter lamps under the sights. Nails improvises a night tracer, a belt loaded with 1 tracer round for every 3 ball rounds, cutting through darkness like red lightning. The first time they use it near Venafro, the sky looks like a 4th of July display. Brief, terrible beauty. By late winter, Nails is attached to the 3rd Infantry Division during the drive toward Cassino. The Luftwaffe is still dangerous, but rarer now. The real enemy is the terrain. Mountains, ravines, towns turn to rubble. The infantry love the M16s. They call them infantry angels. The half-tracks follow close behind, chewing snipers out of bell towers and collapsing machine gun nests that artillery missed. One day, the regiment commander tells Nails, "You know, we're running low on artillery shells." Nails taps the M16's armour. "Sir, we've got 4 reasons not to worry about that." He isn't joking. At Cassino, an M16 section lays down so much suppressive fire that a whole rifle company crosses open ground untouched, The German report from the opposite hill calls it a mobile flak battery used against ground troops with devastating efficiency. The mechanics back at base start painting names on their turrets: Sky Reaper, Groundhog, Steel Rain. Nails doesn't bother naming his. She doesn't need a name, he says. She knows who she is. But everyone else knows too. The M16 isn't a converted truck anymore. It's doctrine, a rolling wall of fire. And the man who built the first one out of scrap metal and fury is now teaching others how to make their own. As the winter snows melt around Cassino, the Luftwaffe makes one last desperate push. Fighters strafing supply routes at dawn. They never make it home. Every road from Naples to Anzio is lined with half-tracks, guns elevated, crews waiting for the sound that used to mean death. When it comes, they smile, lock their grips, and turn the sky red. The crazy mechanic's invention has become the American Army's reflex. Sea wings, pull triggers, erase threat. The Luftwaffe, once masters of the air, now calls certain zones in Italy flak alley. The M16 has turned defence into vengeance, and Niles Ruggieri, the man who built it in a ditch with wire and prayer, is now responsible for an empire of fire that no German pilot dares to cross. June 6, 1944. Normandy, France. The sky over the beaches is thick, with aircraft Allied this time, C-47s towing gliders, B-26s droning overhead, thunderbolts screaming down to strafe hedgerows. But the Luftwaffe isn't finished. They're waiting inland, biding fuel and courage for the one chance to strike the beaches, while they're jammed with men and machines. On the second day, they come. Fu-190s and Me-109s, flying low out of the morning haze. They drop from the clouds like hawks. Bombs hit the causeways. Machine guns rake the sand. And parked among the dunes, almost invisible under camouflage netting, are a dozen half-tracks from the 443rd LAA Battalion. Nick nails Ruggieri's outfit, resurrected and meaner than ever. They'd landed on D+1, rolled off the LSTs under sniper fire, and taken up positions behind the beaches near Vierville. The night before, Nails had told his crews, "We've beaten them over sand and rock. Today, we beat them over blood and water." The first German dive comes at 08:30. The M16s open fire before the bombs leave the wings. The quad's trackers won, their streams of tracers forming an invisible ceiling. A 190 banks hard to escape, clips a tree and cartwheels across a hedgerow in flames. The sky turns into a slaughterhouse of red streaks and falling metal. Infantrymen cheer between bursts. By noon, Nails' section has claimed 6 aircraft, confirmed by wreckage. It's not bragging, they count by what burns in their sector. A captain from the 29th Infantry, mud up to his knees, watches one of the half-tracks pivot and tear apart a diving Messerschmitt at 200 yards. "Jesus Christ," he says, "what do you call that thing?" Nails wipes grit from his face. Insurance policy. The invasion keeps moving inland. As Allied fighters seize control of the air, the M16's shift rolls again, mobile fire bases rolling behind the front lines. The bocage country of Normandy is a nightmare of ambushes, and infantry companies start asking for Nails' Angels to follow them into the hedgerows. The half-tracks, with their open tubs and swivelling mounts, can pivot fire faster than any artillery battery. July 9th, during the push towards St. Lo, a German counterattack slams into the 30th Infantry's left flank. Half-tracks, armoured cars, dismounted grenadiers pouring through a gap. The American Shermans are stuck behind hedges, no line of sight. The radio crackles. "We're blind here. We need guns now." Nails' section rolls in. The half-tracks grind through mud, engines howling. As soon as they crest the rise, the quads drop level. The crews don't hesitate. 4 guns per mount, 16 barrels spitting molten copper. The air fills with sound like a giant tearing canvas. A German armoured car explodes before it can aim. The grenadiers behind it scatter. Nails' men rake the hedgerows until the leaves themselves catch fire. One M16 runs out of belts and keeps the barrels hot by feeding loose rounds by hand until the bolts seize from the heat. When it's over, the field below looks like it's been ploughed by lightning. Afterward, the infantry commander tells Nails, "You saved 2 companies." Nails just shrugs. "You'd have done the same for us if the sky opened up." By August, every division in Normandy wants an M16 platoon. Some get creative, mounting the M45 turret on Sherman hulls, trucks, even landing craft. Anything that can hold the weight gets a quad. It's not standard procedure anymore, it's obsession. The meat chopper has become an addiction no commander wants to fight without. The Luftwaffe still tries to bite back. The fillets pocket turns into a shooting gallery. Nails' men line up their half-tracks on ridges overlooking the retreat and pick off any German plane foolish enough to try covering the withdrawal. They track one FW-190 for nearly a mile, walking fire across its tail until it nosedives into a forest. The gunners cheer once, then go quiet. The war is starting to turn, and everyone feels it. When Paris is liberated, Nails' half-tracks roll under the Arc de Triomphe, their barrels wrapped in flowers. A war correspondent snaps a photo of Nails on the hood, cigarette in his mouth, grease still black on his hands. The caption runs in stars and stripes. "The mechanic who made the sky bleed." But Nails doesn't see it as glory. He knows what the M16's done. He's seen the aftermath, the twisted wreckage, the burned crews. He doesn't celebrate. He keeps tinkering. His men joke that he can't stop improving something that's already perfect. He rewires firing solenoids so they can fire 2 guns at a time to conserve ammo. He builds an improvised belt guide out of a bent coffee can that keeps rounds from jamming on rough terrain. He adds a telescopic sight from a wrecked Panther tank, duct-taped into place, for long-range groundwork. "The Army doesn't give us perfection," he says. "We make it." The fall of 1944 brings the Siegfried Line, pillboxes, dragon's teeth, and low, frozen skies. The Luftwaffe's a ghost by now, but Nails' crews still keep their barrels pointed up. "Because the second you forget them," he says, "they'll come back." In those cold forests near Aachen, the M16 finds its last great evolution. It's not a truck anymore, it's not just an anti-aircraft gun. It's a way of fighting, a creed. Move fast, hit harder, adapt faster than the other guy can breathe. And in the heart of winter, that creed will be tested again. When the Germans launch their final desperate offensive, Nails Ruggieri's M16s will be the only thing standing between the Allied columns and annihilation from the air.